If you've been listening to this podcast for the past couple of months, then the news that came out Tuesday morning was not a surprise to you. It did not catch you off guard. Because Tuesday morning, Tom Brady announced on Instagram and Twitter that he was leaving the New England Patriots and would finish his NFL career elsewhere. And as of Tuesday night, there are reports that Tom Brady's actually going to sign with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Wednesday morning. This is obviously a massive blow to the Patriots for their immediate future. As of right now, I'd have them as the third best team in the AFC East. The only reason they aren't the worst team is because the Miami Dolphins are in that division, and the Patriots still have a good defense. Robert Kraft, the owner of the New England Patriots, is heartbroken about this decision. Kraft was and always has been hands off when it comes to making personnel decisions. He leaves those decisions to Bill Belichick because he understands that Belichick knows more about football than he does. That's what good owners do. That's what good ownership is. They let the guys who know more about football make the decisions. Jerry Jones, get your pen out and take notes from Robert Kraft. Robert Kraft knew that the relationship between Brady and Belichick had to be repaired, but it wasn't his place to work it out between them. It had to be up to Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. They had a phone call about a week ago. We talked about it on this podcast. It did not go well. And Tom Brady decided to say sayonara to New England. To be honest with you, I think this is exactly what Bill Belichick wanted. He knew that he couldn't force Tom Brady out of New England. You don't throw out a 6-time Super Bowl winner. This isn't a Ryan Fitzpatrick that we're talking about. It's Tom fucking Brady. But I think Belichick has wanted to move on for a while now. Ever since he had Jimmy Garoppolo sitting on the sidelines waiting to take over. The fact of the matter is, Tom Brady has been on the decline for about 2 years now. Even last year, when they won that Super Bowl against the Rams, they rode the defense in the running game. Now, part of that is because Bill Belichick gave him very little to work with. He was throwing to receivers that no one's ever heard of. But at the same time, for most of Tom Brady's career, that's been the case in New England. He's always elevated the guys around him. But at 43 years old, I don't think he has the ability to do that anymore, and understandably so. So Tom Brady's sitting back Monday afternoon, and he's seeing teams like the Bills go out and get Stephon Diggs. The Cardinals go out and get DeAndre Hopkins. He's seeing the Browns load up. And he's seeing the New England Patriots do nothing. They did nothing. A few hours later, Tom Brady goes over to Robert Kraft's house and says, I'm gone. Now Bill Belichick has the opportunity to build towards the future with a young quarterback. He got exactly what he wanted. And I don't think it was any coincidence. The question now is, who's going to be the Patriots starting quarterback next season? I'm going to go out on a limb here. And I'm going to say that neither Jarrett Stidham or Cody Kessler is going to be the starting quarterback in New England. People are speculating that it could be Teddy Bridgewater, but I don't think that would be a good fit with the Patriots, not to mention the fact that he's scheduled to sign with the Panthers. Bridgewater is a system quarterback, which Belichick could devise a system that fits his strengths, but Teddy Bridgewater needs elite-level talent around him to succeed, and New England just doesn't have that right now. Early Tuesday, I saw Phillip Rivers mentioned as a possibility. He ends up signing with the Colts. I think the Patriots would have to have been insane to go after Phillip Rivers anyway. Belichick didn't want Tom Brady any longer because he was old and his play has declined. So why would you go out and replace an old declining quarterback with another old declining quarterback? It just doesn't make sense. Phillip Rivers was god-awful last season with the Chargers. And he had two great receivers and a good running game. How the fuck do you think he's going to be okay in New England when he's throwing the ball to Philip Dorsett and N'Keal Harry instead of Keenan Allen and Mike Williams? That would have never worked out. I think that Bill Belichick and the Patriots are going into a full rebuild. And I think he's going to try to get his quarterback in the upcoming draft. Bill Belichick is one of the best in the NFL at drafting quarterbacks, even though New England hasn't had to do that for 20 years. Jacoby Brissett, drafted by New England. Jimmy Garoppolo, drafted by New England. Matt Castle, drafted by New England. The 2020 draft is loaded with quarterbacks. And Belichick's one of the best in the business at finding those diamonds in the rough in the mid to late rounds. Garoppolo was a second-round draft pick. Brissett, third. Matt Castle was drafted in the 7th. And of course, we all know Tom Brady was drafted in the 6th round. So now the race begins to see who will be the first to win a Super Bowl between Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. I think we're going to see Tom Brady extremely motivated next season. He knows that he's running on borrowed time. Maybe 1-2 years left to prove that he can win without Bill Belichick. And we've seen this from legendary quarterbacks before. They leave the team, they leave the city where their legend was born, and they finish their career somewhere else. Joe Montana left San Francisco for Kansas City. Ended up making it to the AFC Championship game. Peyton Manning left Indianapolis for Denver, won a Super Bowl. The difference, though, the difference between those two guys and Tom Brady and the New England Patriots, both the Niners and the Colts had their future franchise quarterbacks already on the roster. The Patriots don't have that. They had their guy in Jimmy G, but had to trade him because Tom Brady wasn't ready to retire. My only concern with Brady and a new team, Tampa Bay in this instance, is the adjustment. Brady and Belichick worked so well together because both were 100% committed to football. They were overly committed. Late nights, both were the first in the building, last ones out. Bruce Arians in Tampa is not that kind of coach. I'm not saying he's not committed, because he is, but he's a lot more relaxed than Bill Belichick. If he needs to leave the facility early for a family dinner, whatever the fuck he's got going on, he's gone. It'll be interesting to see how Tom Brady adjusts to that. Long term, I think this is going to be good for the New England Patriots. You could sense the tension all last season between Brady and Belichick. It was a distraction all year. I think it will be painful at first for New England. Tom Brady being gone will leave a huge void in that locker room. But Bill Belichick will find his franchise quarterback. And the Patriots will be just fine. The organization is too good to be down for too long. I think the biggest winners in this deal are the Buffalo Bills. They immediately moved to the number one spot in the AFC East. Good young quarterback in Josh Allen. Sean McDermott, good head coach. Strong defense. Then went out and addressed their biggest weakness. Traded for Stephon Diggs to bolster the receiving core. The Buffalo Bills are going to make some noise in the AFC. I think they're a top 3 team behind Kansas City and Baltimore. All right, Behind the Line Extra for your Wednesday, March 18th, 2020. I'm your host, KC. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Click that notification bell to receive all notifications from the channel. I appreciate those of you that have already done so. I don't usually upload on Wednesdays, but there's been so much going on in the NFL that I decided to go ahead and crank out another episode. I don't usually do this. I'm not the guy that reacts immediately to breaking news. I like to take a little bit of time to think about it, look at it from different perspectives, then form my own opinion on it and talk about it. There's a reason I do that. When news breaks, we tend to react to it emotionally as our first reaction. For example, when the NBA postponed their regular season last week, I recorded a podcast immediately after it was announced that I never uploaded. I was angry, I was pissed off, frustrated, I was emotional. After sleeping on the information for a night and having a full day to think about it, my perspective had completely changed. I understood why Adam Silver made the decision to postpone or suspend the season. I still wasn't happy about it, but I could see it from Adam Silver's perspective better than I could the night before when it was announced. I talked about the DeAndre Hopkins trade on yesterday's podcast. Now, just to be clear, my opinion on that trade hasn't changed at all. I think this is one of the worst trades in the history of the NFL. I've never been a fan of Bill O'Brien as a head coach. I think he's been blessed in Houston with a team that's loaded with talent and has consistently underachieved. The AFC South is one of the worst divisions in the NFL every year. And the Texans have so much talent that they pretty much win it by default. Bill O'Brien was appointed general manager of the Texans back in January, but the Texans didn't have a GM for the 2019 season. So I assume that he was either making or had a big hand in making a lot of the personnel decisions last year. One thing that you don't do as a manager in any business, but especially in the NFL or the NBA, you don't make decisions based off of emotion. Players are going to give you problems. They're going to complain. They're going to ask for more money in the middle of a contract. As the general manager, you just got to ride the wave. You've got to manage the personalities, find the happy medium, try to make everyone happy while putting together a winning team. Apparently, Bill O'Brien is unable to do that. When Hopkins was traded, the first thought that came to my mind was, okay, there's either a problem between him and Deshaun Watson or between him and Bill O'Brien. DeAndre Hopkins and Deshaun Watson are friends. They hang out off the field, so the problem, highly unlikely, is between them two. But there does appear to have been a problem between DeAndre Hopkins and Bill O'Brien last season. So is that why he was traded? According to John McClain of the Houston Chronicle, DeAndre Hopkins wanted to restructure his contract. He wanted more money. And Bill O'Brien didn't want to redo it with 3 years left on the deal. What? You're telling me that's why he was traded? This type of thing happens all the time in the NFL. These guys, they sign these big contracts. Oftentimes, they collect the bulk of the money up front. So the back end of the contract, they're making less money than they were on the front end. The player gets unhappy about it, threatens to hold out, realizes that the team won't budge if they have a good general manager, and they finish out their contract. Instead of waiting it out, Bill O'Brien acted off of emotion. Oh God, Hopkins wants more money. I don't want it to be a problem. I don't want it to be a problem in the locker room. Let's fucking trade him. And he got nothing for it. Look, I wouldn't have had a problem with this if he got 1 or 2 first-round draft picks. The Texans have other receivers. They got Randall Cobb, Kenny Stills. They've got Deshaun Watson. This team's not going to have a problem scoring the football. But if you're trading DeAndre Hopkins, one of the top receivers in the game, you have got to get something in return for him. You can't trade him for a 2nd and 4th round draft pick and a running back that's been fucking handicapped the past 2 or 3 years. Not to mention that you're not saving much money swapping Hopkins for David Johnson. And you need all the money you can get to fix this atrocious defense that can't stop anyone. But this decision also speaks to a pattern of bad decisions by Bill O'Brien. Traded Jadeveon Clowney last year for pennies on the dollar. Got fleeced by Miami last year, sending 2 first-round draft picks along with a cornerback and an offensive tackle for Kenny Stills and Laramie Tunsil, without getting Laramie Tunsil signed on a long-term contract. So now, he's going to be up for an extension around the same time that Deshaun Watson's going to be up for an extension. Add that to the fact that trading DeAndre Hopkins can't make Deshaun Watson happy in Houston. He already spends 16, now 17 games a season running for his fucking life, trying to stay on his feet behind one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL. He already has to overcome a terrible defense. Now, he has to do all of this without his most consistent weapon, the one guy he could always rely on to be open when he's scrambling for his life. Do you think today that Deshaun Watson has any faith in Bill O'Brien? If I were him, I wouldn't. He's watched bad decision after bad decision. He's watched a 24-point playoff lead evaporate almost instantly, partly because of bad coaching, the other reason, bad defense. These aren't things that convince your young quarterback to want to stick around long term. If Deshaun Watson gets to that point of frustration, and it's coming if things continue to go this way in Houston, and he starts speaking up about it in the locker room, or to the McNair family who own the team, who do you think is going to be gone? You think the McNair family is going to let their franchise quarterback go? Or are they going to let their underachieving head coach and god-awful general manager go? Seems like an easy question to answer to me. All right, that's all for today. I'll be back Friday as usual. We'll talk about the Cam Newton situation. Maybe talk about Phillip Rivers going to Indianapolis to end his career. By that time, we should know for certain if Tom Brady signs with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but all signs are pointing that that's what's going to happen. A lot going on in the NFL right now. There will be plenty to talk about. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Click that notification bell to receive all updates from the channel. Leave me a comment in the section below. Let me know what you think of the podcast. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. I will see you guys on Friday.